What's going on? Welcome to another live quarantine TV edition of Real Fans Real Talk. We got a whole lot of stuff to get into. A lot of big moves been made in the city of New York this past week. And Eric, I know it doesn't completely make up for the loss that you took, but I'd say you got a pretty good consolation prize with a couple of new aces.
Listen, what a difference a week makes, right? Last week when we spoke, I was disappointed. I was ready to open up a bottle and drink my sorrows away. And now this week, I'm excited. So I'm super excited. I wanted to hint at it when we spoke on Friday because I had my Mets hoodie on and there was reports that we were the favorite to land them. But we'll get into that when we get into some baseball talk.
Facts. And then, listen, one of the things I will say, I did say, the week before, I said that, the Mets were looking to sign a particular starting pitcher, and they did, make that thing happen. So, but we'll get into that a little bit later. We do got some other stuff going on. There was some boxing going down this weekend. A big return home, welcome home party that went down this past week. And of course, there's a lot of NFL action. One of my guys went down, and he's going to be out for a little while. So we're just going to jump right into some NFL action. My favorite player in the NFL right now, Lamar Jackson, quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens. It was announced that he is going to be out until Christmas Eve. As much as I like Huntley, I would always love to have Lamar Jackson starting at QB. But Eric, talk to me about the Ravens and how you think they'll do without Lamar Jackson for the next couple of weeks. They do have the division lead right now, but with the records exactly the same with the Cincinnati Bengals, that could change at any moment. So talk to me about how the Ravens will do over these next couple of weeks without their starting QB.
Yeah, it's tough because Lamar is such a big part of their offense and what they like to do every week. Huntley played well last year. We can't discredit that. He came in and he held it down a little bit last year and kept them competitive. He's going to have to do it again this year. But look, man, tied for the division lead right now. They do own the tiebreaker because they beat the Bengals the first time they played. But their next four of those are within the division. This is going to be the determining factor on if the Ravens win the division or even make the playoffs. They got the Steelers today in Pittsburgh. They get Cleveland next week, which we know that's a different version of the Cleveland Browns now that Deshaun's back. They get Atlanta. Then they end the year with Pittsburgh at home, and then they got to go on the road for Cincinnati. If they can find a way, the reports right now are that Lamar is going to be out this week and next week, and then return Christmas Eve. If they find a way to at least split these games, if not win both, but at least split, find a way to win one of these games, get yourself to 9 wins heading into that Christmas Eve game against Atlanta. I think they give themselves a great shot. Huntley's got to find a way to win one game over the next 2 weekends.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I think that this is the game to do it. This is the one right here. I think this is this Pittsburgh team has, they've been pretty bad this season. The quarterback play, has not been good, and the Ravens defense has been improving over the last couple of weeks with the addition of Roquan Smith. He's made such a huge change. I think this is the game that they're going to have to win. I'm just glad that the Bengals game is not until the end of the season, because if had that game been a little bit closer, I don't think the Ravens beat the Bengals without Lamar Jackson. Um, so yeah, that would change things. But I do think this Pittsburgh game this week is a very winnable game for them. Huntley came in last season, during the Lamar Jackson absence, and he did a pretty good job, filling in the void. The Ravens also get their starting running back J.K. Dobbins back this week. From what I read earlier today, or yesterday rather, it seems like he's looking pretty good. So I'm hoping that he can actually stay healthy this time around, because they are definitely going to need all the help they can get this with the next 2 to 3 weeks, depending on when Lamar Jackson can actually come back. He's a really good running back for them. He's had a lot of success with the Ravens, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. But yeah, you're right. They have to. I think this is the game right here that they have to win against a bad Pittsburgh Steelers team. Then after that, we will kind of take it, game by game. But this game here, Baltimore has to win.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it's a must win because they're still in great shape, but it is a big win, a big game for them, a very winnable game because Pittsburgh's offense is bad. But listen, man, Pittsburgh's defense is still pretty good. They're healthy on the defensive end, so you're gonna need a lot of J.K. today, and you're gonna need Huntley to use his legs and scramble a little bit, like he was able to do last week at the end of that game against Denver. Fortunately for Baltimore, this is the second week in a row where they face a bad offense, so your defense can carry you a little bit and just get a little bit from your offense to win.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's early, but shout out to the guys in the live right now. I see guys starting to check in um with us. We drop them questions in, man. Drop the comments in. Let us know what's going on your mind. We still got a whole lot of sports that we're going to get to. But of course, we had to start with the Ravens because my guy Lamar Jackson is hurt, and I'm not feeling that at all. But yeah, man, let's get into this MVP race, Eric. Um, I hate that I don't include really the position players because it's kind of come down to just being a quarterback award. Um, you know, which kind of sucks is I think there's a couple of position players, Tyreek Hill, Josh Jacobs, who you can kind of throw in the mix as well over in Vegas. But it pretty much as the MVP has come down to a quarterback award, unless you have an absolutely stellar, perfect, beyond beast mode type of season. It's been coming down to the quarterbacks. Three names I'm going to throw out to you right now, Eric, and you tell me who has the edge thus far in the season. Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, and Patrick Mahomes.
Me personally, I do think Mahomes is the MVP of the league. For what he's been able to do this season, a lot was made about how this offense would maintain its efficiency without Tyreek Hill. He's done that, and he's been on par pretty much with his stats from 2018 when he won the MVP. So I think for me, it's him. But you can make a strong case for Jalen Hurts, and I love Jalen Hurts. I like everything that he's done. He's top 10 in passing yards, top 10 in passing TDs, not to mention the ability to run and scramble and what he creates for you there. So, and then also they got the best record in football. So a lot of times it's very tough to overlook the best player on the best team for that season. Narratives are big. Obviously, if Philly locks up the number one seed, which it looks like they will. I think a win today at least secures them a playoff spot, and then they'll be working on trying to get that number one seed. If they have the number one seed, that'll also be another feather in his cap that he may have over Burrow or Mahomes. But for me, like I said, I think it's Mahomes. You can make the argument for Hurts. I think Burrow would be third if you had to place those three guys. What you think, Trip?
Yeah, I agree. I think for right now, I have Mahomes. I do have Burrow third on my list as well. And I don't want to take away from the season that Jalen Hurts is having because I think he's having a great season with the Eagles being in first place and really, having control over the NFC this entire season. The thing for me though, I mean, one, the passing yards. I mean, Mahomes almost at 4,000 passing yards on the season right now. One, but then also the other thing for me is and I have to really put weight on this is the strength of schedule. We know the NFC East has had, you know what I mean, pretty manageable schedule this season. The Chiefs, you got to go up against the Bengals and Joe Burrow. You got to go you got to go up against the Chargers and G Herbo or J Herbo, excuse me, and those guys. Like I think the strength of schedule, there's a significant difference in the Chiefs' strength of schedule and the Eagles' strength of schedule. And Mahomes has still got those guys in the top of the AFC. I know they're tied right now with the Bills for first place after the loss to the Bengals. But again, that's them facing another uh, MVP candidate. I don't even think Jalen Hurts has faced any one of the MVP candidates, even the position players that I mentioned, the Tyreek Hills or the Josh Jacobs. I don't even think they've went up against any other MVP candidates. Whereas we know Mahomes had to play Josh Allen already, who was earlier, an MVP candidate. We know, they've had to again, they've had to play Joe Burrow. So I would give the edge to Patrick Mahomes. Um, but again, I think Jalen Hurts is having an amazing season, and I know Eagles fans. I know Gilly was upset that Jalen Hurts is not really being mentioned amongst the MVP candidates like that. But I think the strength of schedule is a big part of that.
I mean that does play a factor, and you're right. The Eagles did have a very soft part of the schedule early in the season. They still got a game with Dallas. Obviously, they got the game with the Giants today. So these are teams with winning records. But right, you're not facing another MVP caliber player. You're not playing Dallas, maybe, but the Giants. We're not talking about them as a Super Bowl contender. Whereas when Kansas City played Buffalo, some people say that's a preview to the AFC Championship game. When Kansas City played Cincinnati, obviously that was a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game, right? So that factor does play into it. I think another thing that hurts Jalen Hurts a little bit in terms of being above or mentioned above Patrick Mahomes is the running game he has. Miles Sanders, as we record this today, going into week 14, is on the cusp of 1,000 yards already. He's going to probably finish well over 1,100 yards for the season, whereas Mahomes doesn't have a run on his team that's nearly as impactful as what the Eagles are getting from Miles Sanders. So I think that plays a bigger factor too, because when you look at pass attempts as well, right now Mahomes has 10 more passing touchdowns than Jalen Hurts, but he's also thrown the ball about 120 more times than Jalen Hurts because they rely on him a lot more.
Yes.
And to just use the simplistic way of looking at it, if you were to swap the two teams, would they be the same? Right? Because if you put Mahomes on Philly, they damn sure still would be 11-1. You could still make the case if you give him AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, that they would be
Yeah.
11-1. On the flip side, if you give Hurts the offense that Kansas City has, I don't know if they would be as good as Mahomes currently has them.
I don't think it would even be close. If you and listen, because again, I don't want to seem like I'm disrespecting Jalen Hurts because I think Jalen Hurts is amazing. I think he's having an amazing season. But if you telling me you're gonna give Jalen Hurts, and again, we've seen Jalen Hurts with lesser talent, and he didn't look Herculean last season before he got AJ Brown over there, and when it was just Devontae Smith. He didn't. We weren't talking about him as far as being MVP when you didn't have Miles Sanders running for 1,000 yards this early into the season. We weren't talking about Jalen Hurts as an MVP. It's a combination of a lot of things. AJ Brown is a huge upgrade at wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I can't see Jalen Hurts with Juju as his number one receiver, who being in and out of the lineup, Tony being in and out of the lineup, um, McCole Hardman being in and out of the lineup. Not that they had a running game prior to Pacheco kind of stepping up and really, really taking charge, but Hilaire Edwards in and out of the lineup, and him just being horrible on top of that. But if you're telling me that's what you're gonna give to Jalen Hurts, I don't think the Eagles. If he's on the Chiefs, rather, I don't think they're in first place or tied for first place in the AFC.
Yeah, that's a completely different scenario. And I mean, just to put it more perspective even on it, right now, like you mentioned, Isaiah Pacheco, right? He's the leading rusher in Kansas City. Isaiah Pacheco is 34th amongst running backs and rush yards, right? He has less rush yards than Daniel Jones. That's the type of running game that Patrick Mahomes is dealing with right now, where it's on and on again, off again. Yeah, sometimes they get some, most times they don't. So it's all about Patrick Mahomes. Jalen Hurts has that security blanket. He knows he can hand the ball off to Miles Sanders, and they can still get 100 yards a game rushing and be sufficient that way. And we saw it a few weeks ago when they beat Green Bay. They didn't beat Green Bay because of his arm. They beat Green Bay because they were able to just run the ball down their throat the whole game. On the flip side, Mahomes doesn't have that luxury. They can't win games just running the ball. They need Mahomes to be Mahomes.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say this because I do want to put a little bit of respect on Pacheco's name because I do think if Pacheco starts the season, their running game does look a lot better because he's been very good since he's pretty much taken over the starting running back spot from Hilaire Edwards after the injury. He's been close to 100 yards and a touchdown pretty much every game he's played in this season. So I do want to give him some credit out there. I like the kid. Shout out to him. He's a prospect of Rutgers University. That's in our area over here, Eric. So I do want to shout him out on that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Mahomes definitely has to do a lot more with a lot less on the offensive side of the football. One and on the defensive side of the football as well. Jalen Hurts also has the benefit of having one of the better defenses in football. Whereas we know that the defensive side of the football for the Chiefs has been their Achilles heel in the past, and even in this season. They could use some improvement on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think it's as much of a debate there either. Philly is much more sound defensively. Kansas City has improved. But if you told me one defensive stand, who would you rather have? Of course, I'd rather have Philly's defense.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, all right. So we got the pecking order down. So we're going Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and Joe Burrow third. But again, that could change. We got a lot of
Of course.
football left, and Joe Burrow has his number one, who was probably a top five, maybe even top three receiver back in the lineup, Jamar Chase, who came back off the injury. I think 2 weeks ago now he's been back, so that could change as well over the next couple of weeks, especially with the AFC race being so close. That could definitely change. Is there anybody outside of the two position players that I mentioned, Tyreek Hill and Josh Jacobs, that you think should be in the conversation for MVP?
I do think Justin Jefferson should get more mentions. Um, it's going to be tough because he's going to be in the same position that Cooper Cup was in last year, where his numbers are going to look gaudy, but it's going to be like, is it enough to push him over the top? But I think when you look at that Vikings offense and you look at like how much they go through Justin Jefferson, it is pretty amazing that a young receiver only in his third year gets that many targets and has that big of an impact on the game. We talked about it last week. The Jets hung tough with them. The Jets pretty much just said, we'll give you everything other than Justin Jefferson. And that's how they were able to keep that game close because Justin Jefferson against every other defense this year has been going for a buck 20, buck 30. So he's putting up some crazy numbers. I don't think he'll get it again because the Vikings aren't going to be the number one seed. And he plays a position that's very tough to give an MVP to.
Yeah, it is. But again, shout out to Justin Jefferson because you're right. The Vikings definitely made the best out of trading Stephon Diggs to Buffalo because that was actually the player they drafted with the first round pick that they got in return for Stephon Diggs. And as much as I love Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson, I think he's in a whole nother stratosphere. So they're going to be good for some years to come.
Yeah, I mean, if you
Um,
look at it, just as we were talking about, I pulled up the numbers just to double check because we talking about Tyreek, but Justin Jefferson's numbers are right there behind him. He got more touchdowns than Tyreek. They average the same amount per completion. Tyreek has 8 more catches than him this year for 100 more yards, so pretty much a 1 game difference in stats. But
yeah.
Justin Jefferson is across the board right there with him.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'll take Tua over Kirk Cousins. I'm, I'm sorry, I would. I think he's the better quarterback right now.
Well,
Um,
and yeah, I not only do I agree with that, but also again to talk about help. Nothing against Tyreek Hill. We both think he's an amazing dynamic receiver. But if you look at who's number 5 on the yards list as a receiver is Jalen Waddle. So you can never double team Tyreek Hill the way you could double Justin Jefferson. Because if you double Tyreek, then Waddle's going to beat you over the top, and Waddle's going to have a big game. Justin Jefferson doesn't have that. Adam Thielen's not the receiver he was 4 or 5 years ago. So it is really Justin Jefferson and then everybody else.
yep, you absolutely right. That does change things. Them having, and on top of that, we're not even seeing. Even though I think Dalvin Cook is having an okay season, but we're not even seeing the seasons that we've been accustomed from Dalvin Cook to where it would take off some of the pressure off of Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins. Honestly, he's been average this season. So, you factor that in as well, and it's like this kid is doing the impossible. Really, you don't have the greatest of quarterbacks. I mean, Kirk Cousins is probably middle of the pack.
That's a
Um,
fact.
you don't have Dalvin Cook playing at elite Dalvin Cook level that we've known, over the past couple of years. And again, Adam Thielen, who's been great, and is still solid. Listen, everybody gets old in this league. and you start to slow down. He's not the Adam Thielen that I was putting on my fantasy football team like 3-4 years in a row. Even with them having Stephon Diggs on the other side, with them bringing in Justin Jefferson, you could still count on Adam Thielen as a solid, uh, fantasy wide receiver. Now
Hmm.
he's solid, but he's just not who he was. And he's dominating. And, Justin Jefferson is pretty much doing what he wants out there, except when you put the guy that we're about to talk about right now, because we and I love Eric. I got to give you your props on this because you made the phrase of the season when you coin betting on the Giants and the Jets the Bing Bong parlay. I love that. I got to give you your props on that, bro. But Sauce Gardner, in the New York Jets, Sauce Gardner is the one man that I've seen make Justin Jefferson look normal, make a lot of these top receivers look normal, including the receiver that he's probably going to be spending most of his time defending in today's 1 o'clock game on the Buffalo Bills, a guy we just spoke about as well in Stephon Diggs. He kept him out of the end zone in the last matchup that the Jets kind of stole. And he also caught an interception. Even though I know Josh Allen is good for 1 or 2 interceptions a game, but Sauce did his thing, and they are going to be playing in the rematch as the first half of the Bing Bong parlay. The Jets have the Bills today at 1 o'clock. Who are you taking in that Jets Bills game? And is it different going into this game? The feeling that you have about this game than you did going into the first game?
So I'll start there. Yeah, the feeling got to be different because when the Jets beat them the first time, I don't think anyone saw that coming. And the Jets roughed them up and the Jets pushed them around and beat up on them. And then obviously Josh Allen was injured in that game as well. So you got to look at it differently because the Jets now have demanded our respect. The Jets went in there and punched the bully of the division in the face. Now the bully got to respond. In terms of Sauce, though, Sauce has been amazing. And there's some haters out there too. I see the comments because people say things like, "Oh, well, Sauce ain't matching up all game against the best receiver. He not following him around the field." Listen, first of all, that ain't smart football
Sauce though,
because
Sauce is
amazing. And there's
you
some
you
haters
wouldn't
out. You wouldn't just have your best corner follow the best receiver all game and then allow other guys to exploit the second and third corner. You would try to mix it up. That's first. Secondly, Sauce is a rookie. So you don't want to put too much on his plate right away. You want to still ease him into certain situations and get better understanding of circumstances in the game. But that said and done, when Sauce is covering the receiver, he's giving up the least amount of completions for the lowest amount of yards. So Sauce is doing his thing. He had an interception the last time they played in this matchup with Buffalo. I do like Buffalo, but I think the line is disrespectful. The line is at 10 points today. The Jets are going to keep it much closer than that. The Jets are going to have to run the ball to keep it closer as well. But I think the Jets are closer to Buffalo than people want to admit. Buffalo wins, but in a close game.
And the crazy thing about it is the spread was, I think, something like that in the first game.
Yeah.
I think it was like about 10 and a half, 11 even maybe in,
Mm-hmm.
that first game. So it's crazy to me to see how the Jets played Buffalo in that game. It was a very, very close game, a very good game on both teams, but the Jets completely surpassed everyone's expectations. So for it to be a double digit spread on this game, I was shocked that they haven't put respect on the Jets names, because even in the last couple of weeks, the losses that the Jets took, you know, the loss to the Patriots. I know that there was the controversy over a no call in that punt return, a touchdown at the end of the game. But I mean, that's no slight to the Jets. That was a game that they could have easily won. Same thing with the Vikings. Just very close game that came down to the wire. So very winnable games for the Jets. Um, they're continuing to improve. They're getting better every week. Inserting Mike White into the starting lineup kind of changed the dynamic. I don't know if I hate to say that the players, didn't have the same kind of support for Zach Wilson as they do for Mike White, but that's kind of what it seems like. It's like he came in and kind of changed the trajectory of things. Even in the losses, we don't speak about the Jets the same way we did when they take losses with Zach Wilson at quarterback. Mike White one is just throwing for way more yards than we would see from Zach Wilson. I think even in a short time, the connection that he's had with Garrett Wilson has been amazing. Obviously the Jets have been banged up at running back, which kind of hurts them a little bit. Because they did bring in James Robinson to try to make up for Brees Hall for his injury, but he kind of got hurt. So they've kind of been trying to throw out the tandem of Michael Carter and a couple of other of their running backs to kind of make up for that. But the they're still a completely different team, and I'm really looking forward to Mike White versus the Buffalo Bills defense, who unfortunately won't have Von Miller for the remainder of the season. It was announced that he's going to be done for the season, but I think this is going to be a very close game. I that 10 points. I don't know who said it was going to be a 10 point Bills win, but I think it's going to be very close. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the Jets can actually win this game.
Well, if the Jets follow the blueprint that they followed when they played a couple weeks ago, yeah, because the Jets ran for 174 yards in that game and they stayed balanced. The irony in that, though, is as you mentioned about Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson was the quarterback in that game, and him and Garrett Wilson got it going because Garrett Wilson went for I think 92 yards in that game. So
Mhm.
they were able to get some things going, but then the very next week, Zach Wilson struggled against the Patriots, and then they benched him. So I think what Vegas was thinking here, again, I still don't buy into the 10 points. I think that's a lot. I think if you look at Buffalo's recent games, they're a little closer to the field than people want to acknowledge. I agree with you. I thought, Buffalo was really good early in the year, but without Von Miller, I think they've been a different team. And you see the games have been a little closer now the last couple of weeks since Von Miller's gone out. But I think Vegas is thinking back to last year because Mike White threw 4 interceptions against Buffalo last year when they played. And maybe they're thinking that him going into that situation is going to be another difficult game for him and he struggles and throws more interceptions. That's got to be it. But other than that, I think 10 points is very disrespectful. The Jets are 4-2 on the road this year. They've been very solid in all their road games. Last week was another example. They had every opportunity to beat Minnesota. They kept getting the red zone and they couldn't score a touchdown. I expect the Jets to show up and be very good in this game. I expect them to get the running game going early. Again, follow the blueprint from the previous game. And then you try to get a turnover or two on Josh Allen, which I think has also been another little trouble spot for Buffalo because Josh Allen has been known to throw at least one interception in the last few games.
Yeah, facts. I think he's had, I want to say, 4 multiple interception games this season where he's had at least 2 interceptions. So yeah, I think he is. And when you again, I really got to tip my hat to the Jets defense this season. CJ Mosley being the veteran linebacker on that team, and then they got a lot of young, really good talent. Quentin Williams has been amazing this season, and then whoever was out there was at the draft saw us. You need to get that bonus check because you got a superstar in the making. And the thing I love about him is not only is he a great talent, Sauce Gardner was built to play for a New York franchise. Like he has that New York swag about him. I think that was oh my goodness, I love that pick so much for the Jets. I got to shout out to Von Miller because as he's one of the elder statesmen in the league, but we have seen now in 2 straight seasons the difference that Von Miller can make being on the team and then not being on the team. The Rams, after winning the Super Bowl, look completely different. They look horrible this year. You know what I mean? And on the defensive side of the football, Von Miller was really the one loss that they took. Now we see a Bills defense who doesn't look the same, without Von Miller, and he's going to be out for the remainder of the season. I still think they'll go far in the playoffs, working their way through the AFC. But I got to shout out Von Miller because he's definitely a true difference maker on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, Vaughn is a big difference maker, man. And for Buffalo, this is tough because you brought Von Miller in because this is exactly what you were missing from your defense. A guy who can get to the quarterback and cause havoc and you don't have to blitz as much. Without Von Miller, they're the same defense that they were last year. And that's the same defense that gave up the 13-second drive to Kansas City and ultimately got eliminated from the playoffs. So Buffalo, for me, they're gonna have to figure it out the next couple of weeks. We know they're gonna be in the playoffs, but the next couple of weeks they're gonna have to figure it out if they really expect to be a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah. So and that right there, guys, that's the first half of the Bing Bong parlay. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I don't want to hear any of you other shows out there using the Bing Bong parlay if you do not credit it back to the legend in 2 games. I'm telling y'all right now, we will have the attorneys on your ass. Okay, make sure you give my man his props if you out here using
It's a
the Bing
fact.
Bong parlay. Okay, now the second half, my guys, the New York Football Giants, they have a very big division game against the league leading Philadelphia Eagles. Um, you know, on Friday on the live, Eric, you know, I already told you I don't care how much of a difference it might be in the teams, how much what I feel. I don't ever say that the Giants is going, going to take the L, especially not to a division rival like the Philadelphia Eagles. But they are in action. I mean, I think I honestly I think it is going to be a tough uh back and forth game. However, Saquon is a 50-50 right now. As whether or not he's going to play, he is dealing with a little bit of a neck injury. Um, if I'm being honest, I don't mind if the Giants sit Saquon this game just to keep him, ready for the remainder of the season because I don't want to take a chance. We've already dealt with the injuries with Saquon in the past, and neck injuries ain't no joke. So that's nothing that you want to play around with. So I would be okay if the Giants sat Saquon. The Eagles obviously are the favorite, and as they should be going into this game, they should be the favorites. But again, I would be okay with the Giants sitting Saquon for this game. I know that's a damn near 70% of the offense, but just for the future, I have no problem with them sitting him. If he's not good enough to be out there, then just sit him and let Matt Breda take the snaps and whatever it is that you guys got to do. Hopefully some other guys can step up, but I don't want you to put Saquon out there and put him in harm's way, and then the injury gets worse because he really shouldn't have been out there playing today.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if he does play how much they use him. Because no disrespect to the Giants, but this week's game is not as important as next week's game. They don't have any shot of catching the Eagles for first place in the division. But next week's game against the Commanders, the rematch of the tie, is probably going to determine who gets into the playoffs. And so when you look at the rest of the Giants schedule, Philly, I think we expected this probably was going to be a loss. Fine. If you lose, no big deal. You got to get back on the bike next week. But then you got Washington, you got Minnesota, you got the Colts, and then you got the Eagles again. That Eagles game might not mean anything to Philly. Maybe you could win that game, but that Minnesota game is still going to mean something to them. That's a tough matchup. And like I said, next week's game against Washington is probably going to be a must win. Whoever wins that game is going to get into the playoffs. So if you rest them this week, or even if you say, look, we're going to have him on a snaps count, we'll play him a little bit. But if this game gets out of hand, we're going to pull him and not play him the rest of the game. I respect that as well, because you have to make sure that he's healthy for the last 4 games of the season. He's your best offensive player. He's your best weapon. He's your best shot of winning any type of games anyway, moving down the line. So you got to keep him healthy. It'd also be interesting too, Trip. Saquon's a free agent after this year.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say that Brian Daboll and the Giants would do this, but I wonder if there's a thinking within that building that if we're not going to sign him anyway, let's get as many miles out of him right now as we can. Again, if we don't intend on bringing him back next year. If we plan on him being part of the future of this organization, then you got to play it smart and you got to at least rest him this week so he can get healthy.
Yeah. Yep. I definitely agree. But I just saw Brian Daboll did say that Saquon will be playing against the Eagles this game, so I guess he's good enough to go. I'm hoping that's the case. If it, like you said though, if it does get out of hand, you gotta pull Saquon and let him sit um the second half of this game, especially if it gets out of hand early. It doesn't make sense to force it. Because one, I mean, you're gonna be if you get down early, you got to pass the ball anyway to try to stay in the game. So you might as well just let Saquon sit, let him rest, and get back for that very important rematch versus the Washington Commanders. I agree.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the Bing Bong parlay. All right. So now that we know both matchups, Eric, what are the chances of the Bing Bong parlay hitting this week?
Very slim. Um, I think both of them are heavy underdogs. Giants are underdogs by 7 points. Jets are underdogs by 10 points. At best, maybe you work that line down and you bet them both to keep it within a field goal. But I think it's for both of them to win is going to be very, very tough. Philadelphia is legit. The record is legit, and they put a lot of pressure on you early in games because they jump out and then they make you be one dimensional the rest of the game. If I had to rate between the two teams, I think the Jets have a better chance of winning today than the Giants.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I think it's going to be hard for both teams to win, and I do think it's a small percentage both teams win. But if I had to out of the two, the team that I feel like does have the better chance would be the Jets beating the Bills. And again, both of these teams are playing teams that are considered Super Bowl contenders.
Right.
So neither one of these matchups is going to be easy. But yeah, if I had to pick one, it would be the Jets. I don't think this week the Bing Bong parlay hits, but I would love to be wrong in this situation. So to the football gods, listen, make a liar out of me today, and let the Bing Bong parlay hit. I might have to put something on the ticket on the Bing Bong parlay. I don't know if
I mean,
I pick who I'm gonna pick
yeah,
as
I
the
mean, I wouldn't mind it either. I don't have a rooting interest, but I hope both these teams do make the playoffs because I'm always rooting for the city. I'm always rooting for hometown. So and I know how crazy both those fan bases are. So if both those teams are competitive late in December, early January with a chance to make the playoffs, it's great for the city.
absolutely. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll see what's going on. Both of those guys are playing later today. I believe they're both on at 1 o'clock again.
They both on at 1 o'clock, and as we're talking, I'm just double checking to see what it would look like. The Bing Bong parlay is plus 1,500 today.
Damn, I might need to put a ticket.
Yeah, I mean, just a little something,
I'm
just
gonna
a
throw
little
a dollar
spare
on it.
change.
I'm gonna throw a dollar on it. I'm gonna throw
Yeah,
a
just a
dollar
little
on
spare
it.
change.
Exactly. I'm gonna put a ticket together. Yeah, once we get off the air, that's our thing. Listen, and guys, let me just say this because I know we talk about playing the tickets a lot. If you are out here, if you are whatever platform you use, I'm not even about to shout nobody out because they not check
Right.
right now. But if you are gambling, make sure you're doing it responsibly. Don't put your rent money up and be out homeless because you wanted to put an extra ticket in on the game and it didn't go your way, and now you living in a sleeping bag outside in the car or something like that. Be responsible. And if you do, if you feel like you do have an issue, you can always call was the Gamblers Anonymous hotline or whatever. There's a
Hmm.
hotline that you can call. So yeah, just gamble responsibly if you are out here gambling. I like to throw that in because I know we talk about it a lot, but we're actually very responsible with our ticket bets. But I know there's a lot of people that have issues with gambling. So just be responsible with it
That's a
if
fact.
you want a ticket. We still got a little bit more NFL news. Uh, whew, a hefty fine went out against. Damn, the Saints always in some BS. they, they had to pay a little bit over 500,000 because Cam Jordan faked an injury last week in the Saints Bucks game. I,
Yeah.
I I think it's just funny to me because like yo, come on, bro, how y'all out here? Y'all get caught faking injuries. Y'all get caught was it head hunting and whatnot. Like what's up with the Saints, man? Why they can't get their act together?
Yeah, it was crazy because the announcers called it out during the game. The Saints didn't have enough guys on the field for defense, and then the guy mysteriously goes down and starts grabbing at his hamstring. And during the broadcast, the announcer called it out. It was like, "Oh, that looks suspicious." So, uh, I mean, if you gonna fake the injury, at least you got to be better about faking it. You can't be so obvious that the broadcast noticed it too. But for the Saints, I mean, I guess it's been one of them type of seasons for them, man. It's just been one of them seasons.
Facts. Yeah, I can't call it on that one. And I love
And
Cam Jordan. I got a lot of respect for him, but that's over the top.
I do too. And we got to say this too. The Saints should be ashamed of themselves because they had Jameis Winston out there playing this shit with like two broken bones in his back for like the first month of the season.
Jeez, I don't even know. Yeah, man, they got to get it together. Drew Brees retired. Sean Payton left. This thing is going it's going downhill.
Yeah.
They got to get their act together. 500,000, even though I'm sure for the owner is it's a little drop in the bucket, but still 500K. That's a lot of money that you spent right there. Y'all got to get your act together, New Orleans. I don't even know what to what to say. This stuff is just laughable. Let's jump into some Monday night football. It's gonna be another good matchup that we're gonna see for Monday Night Football. I'm actually looking forward to this game. This is the Patriots at the Cardinals. Kyler Murray versus Mac Jones, two of the youngin quarterbacks who are making their way through the leagues. They'll be playing each other on Monday Night Football in Arizona. Eric, who you taking in this game and why?
Uh, Patriots have been very shaky and up and down. The Cardinals have all types of issues. I'm not going to pile on with Cliff Kingsbury anymore. I've said enough about Cliff Kingsbury. I don't
They
need nobody putting.
monitoring they monitoring you at this point, Eric.
Yeah, I
Whatever.
gotta watch everything I say. The feds is listening. I hear the clicking on the phone every time I talk, man. But I like the Patriots. Patriots got a little bit more to play for. I think the Cardinals have already checked out. I haven't watched the Hard Knocks with the Cardinals, but everything I hear about Hard Knocks from other people has confirmed everything I've been saying about Cliff Kingsbury anyway. Because people like, man, that team checked out on him by week 4. So I would expect the Patriots, who have a little bit more to play for, and Bill's pride to kind of kick in and be like, we need to get it together right now if we have any shot of making the playoffs. So I expect the Patriots to win that game.
Yeah, we kind of both knew the ship had sailed in regards to the Cardinals when Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury had that little argument
Hmm.
on the sidelines. I knew it was going to kind of be downhill from there. I think, yeah, I agree. I think he's completely lost his team. I think it's only a matter of time. I'm surprised he hasn't. I mean, I guess the only reason is because they're so bad. Is just like, you know what, we might as well just let him rock out for the remainder of the season, and then we'll get him up out of here for next year. Because I definitely don't think we see Cliff Kingsbury as the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals next season. But yeah, but in regards to this game, I'm gonna go with Belichick. It's crazy, and it's crazy that when we talk about a team, and I can say I don't even mention the player. I say I'm just going with Belichick. I'm just going with the
Yeah.
coach. I think the coach is going to be the key in this game, and the reason why the Patriots beat the Cardinals and make the AFC East race that much tougher. And this is a perfect opportunity for them because you have the Jets and the Bills going at it. So somebody
Hmm.
in front of you has to take a loss. So this
Yeah.
is this is a big shot for the Patriots to kind of reassert themselves and keep them alive in the playoff chase this season. You have a very winnable game against an up and down Arizona Cardinals team. So if you go out there and you can get this W, it does a lot for your playoff hopes, keeping you guys alive. I mean, I feel like if you're the Patriots, you probably be rooting for the Jets to lose this game. And again, there's a good chance that the Bills do win this game, even though we don't agree with the exact spread. But they do have. I think they are the favorites to win this game still. So if you're the Patriots, I'm sure you're pulling for the Bills in this one because the Jets are closest to you in the standings, pushes you guys up in the playoff chase. So I feel like that will be the case. But yeah, but I'm going with the Patriots in this game. I think they have a very good chance of taking the W in this game and helping out with their playoff hopes. Really quick
Yeah.
before we switch over, I just want to do this next Thursday night football game really quick, Eric. The 49ers versus Seattle, a tough division game that we'll have on Thursday night football. I think we'll kind of have an idea of what we're going to get as far as quarterback goes for the San Francisco 49ers because they got your main man. What'd you call him, Purdy? Was it Purdy? I don't want to repeat
Uh,
what Will. Shout out to Will, but I don't want to repeat what Will called him. But I think we'll know this week what's going to happen with Purdy. And, going into that next week game, we'll kind of have an idea of what the 49ers are going to do. Because if this game gets bad this week versus the Bucks and he doesn't look look good at all, we may see them trying to look for somebody else to kind of keep the playoff hopes alive.
Yeah, I mean, they're in a tough spot because it's so late in the season. There aren't many options out there for somebody you could bring in, and even if you bring him in, is he going to learn the playbook fast enough for you? But that game's going to be for the division. San Fran owns the tiebreaker right now. They beat Seattle in week 2, was it? So even though they're one game up in the schedule, they also got that tiebreaker. But it will be interesting if San Fran loses today against Tampa, because Seattle does have a very winnable game against the Panthers. And if they're tied on a short week, like you said, with Brock Purdy, then you're looking at Seattle having an inside track to possibly winning this division. But I do think Thursday's game is probably going to dictate who wins this division. No matter what today's results are, Thursday's going to determine it. The Niners are undefeated within the division. Their defense is excellent, and they just got to get a little bit from Brock Purdy for them to be successful.
Now, let me ask you this. If the 49ers get mollywopped um, by the Buccaneers, because at this point, we know Baker is living his best life with the horrible Rams team. Um, I mean, there may be only one quarterback left that in Cam Newton to sign. Do you think the 49ers sign Cam Newton in hopes that maybe he can help out and get them into the playoffs?
Um, they may have to. Again, I don't know if there's any connection between Cam Newton and Kyle Shanahan. If there is, then yeah, you probably make the call. And the reason I say that again is because you're asking someone unfairly to learn your playbook on the fly in the heart of the season. After today, there's only 4 games left. So if you bring in a quarterback, you're expecting them to know this playbook pretty quickly to be ready for the end of the season and potentially the playoffs. I think that's why they brought in Josh Johnson as a backup, because Josh Johnson had played for Kyle Shanahan a few years ago with San Fran. So he has a pretty good understanding of the playbook. And if push comes to shove, he's going to be the guy they go to. But yeah, I mean, it would have to be some sort of connection to Kyle Shanahan for any quarterback. It's got to be somebody who understands the playbook. Got to be somebody who has at least some sort of relationship with them. Now, when you mention Cam, I mean, I think Cam and Christian McCaffrey have a little bit of a relationship. So maybe if Christian McCaffrey kind of petitions for him and says, "Hey, the guy can get it done. This is an offense that's catered to him." But we haven't seen Cam play football in a little bit, so that's still a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, I agree. But again, a bad loss make teams do some crazy things. So we got to wait and see. I'm gonna take Seattle in the Thursday night football game. No, I'm not sure, and since we haven't actually seen Purdy play just yet, I got to take Seattle in that game. If but if he looks good today versus the Buccaneers and they're able to get the win, then I may change my thoughts. But as of right now, I'm gonna go with Seattle. With that
Well,
being
that's
said,
hold on really quick before we say that, 'cause I wanted
well,
to double check this as you said it. One game could alter things. It is interesting that right now we haven't seen Brock Purdy play yet today. We haven't seen Seattle play, but right now the line is only San Fran by 1.
mm,
And the reason I say that's interesting is because in today's game, San Fran is favored by 3.5 over Tampa. So I think Vegas is kind of feeling the same way you're feeling. Like, we're giving San Fran a little bit of respect this week, but we're going to give ourselves a little cushion for next week, because if he really stinks up the joint today, there's no way they're going to be favored in Seattle on a short week.
yeah, it's not at all. So yeah, but with that being said, let's get into some NBA talk. We're low on the live stream, so I'm gonna shift things around while we're for show purposes, and I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna switch over to Brittany Griner. She was released from prison this past week. The United States, they finally were able to make a prisoner swap. I've been hearing a lot of mixed responses in regards to the trade. But first, let me just say this. Welcome home to Brittany Griner. As much as because I feel like it was to get 9 years for in prison in a Russian prison for having a couple of vapes in your bag. I think it's crazy. But at the same time, I do understand that it's not the United States, and we can't, expect other countries to do what the United States would do because they're not the United States. So we have to be well aware of what we're doing when we're traveling the world and in these different countries and continents, overseas. But what's your thoughts on Brittany Griner and her making her return back home to the United States?
First, I do want to say I'm happy that she is back home. We've talked about it so many times on the show. She needed to be back home. This needed to get resolved, and it looks like it has been. Secondly, I think it's foolish for anybody to really speak on the foreign policies or the trade unless you're well versed in that area. Because there are a lot of people who feel like, well, we traded an arms dealer for her. She should have stayed over there. Like, I think that's a little harsh because, like you said, 9 years for the penalty just didn't match. Also, you can't create this cloud of fear and doubt with people traveling if they feel like my country and my government will turn it back on me. She's somebody who's represented this country in the Olympics before. She's someone who does, through sports, obviously represents this country. So if we allow you to stay over there and not at least fight to bring you back, what type of example are we setting for any other athlete or entertainer who travels abroad and we expect them to represent our country? So we had to do it from that standpoint. Only time will tell if we will regret swapping her for the arms dealer, but I think in the short term, we gotta take it for what it is, and we gotta applaud the fact that our government was able to get her back.
Yeah, I agree with that. And again, I will say this again: if you are traveling to other countries, make sure that you are fully aware of the laws in those countries, especially if you're not only just traveling but you're working, because that's what Brittany Griner was doing. She was playing basketball for the Russian. I want to say not the Russian. It was the Russian national team.
No,
Forget.
no, not the Russian national team, but
Uh,
for a league over there.
Oh,
She
yeah, for one of the leagues.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you have to be aware, of what's going on in those countries and what you can and cannot do, and don't assume that because there are things that you can do here in the United States that you can do those things anywhere in the world. Because just because you might have a medical license to smoke marijuana or to use a vape or wax or whatever it is that you're doing, you have to understand that that is here in the United States, and marijuana usage is not as accepted in a lot of places around the world. What you can do here in the United States with what you can do in these other countries because their laws are different. The penalties are a lot harsher for certain things. And I hope that this is the example set for not just the WNBA players, but any person who is going overseas to do whether it's vacation, to work, or whatever. You need to understand the laws of those places because you could find yourself in a situation where you're facing 9 years in a Russian prison, as Brittany Griner has done. And again, welcome home to her. I'm sure her family is relieved. I'm sure her friends are relieved. We're one of the media outlets that had been carrying the story along, from the time of its inception and up until now. But for everyone who's been speaking out for her on her behalf and making that push and trying to keep the story alive, I know all of those people are relieved as well that she's home, and hopefully she can just get right back to playing in the WNBA, getting her life back in order, being with her family, and just kind of move on from this horrible experience that she's had to deal with.
yeah, that's a fact. Man.
you know Really quick, let me just let you guys know, make sure you guys are subscribed to not only the Real Fans Real Talk podcast. We're on pretty much every major streaming platform, but podcast as well. Make sure you guys are subscribed to that as well. And for our grown and sexy fans, I know you guys, love rocking out with us on Thursdays and Sundays on the Shooting the Shit podcast. So make sure you guys are subscribed to that as well. If you are in the New York City area, you guys can watch the show every Thursday night from 8 to 9 p.m. on Verizon 43. That's right here all throughout New York City. And of course, if you are not in the New York City area, don't worry, you can still watch every week at www.realfansrealtalk.com. Just click that red button on the homepage and you can watch from anywhere in the world. Also, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/, for the fans productions, facebook.com/ real fans real talk, and of course, Twitter and Instagram at real fan talk. Eric, you want to give us a final thought for the TV show, and then we'll finish up with the rest of the topics that we have on the rundown?
Just wishing everybody a happy and healthy holidays, man. Stay safe out there. We appreciate you guys continuing to tune in with us. We greatly appreciate the support, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, with that being said, we're up out of here. Only for the TV show. We're still going to continue with the live. We got a couple of more sports topics that we got to get to, but for the TV followers, that was the sign off for you guys. Eric, let's get back into to some NBA stuff. Kyrie Irving, he has been through the ringer the past couple of weeks. The most recent blow, however, he was officially dropped from Nike. His latest Kyrie sneaker was supposed to drop last month. That had also been canceled, but he is now officially dropped from Nike. But in a power move, which I loved, Kyrie still wore his Nikes, but he put a little black tape over it, and he put a statement on the side of his sneaker as well. I am free, which I absolutely love. Take that power back, my brother. We both kind of said that we didn't really have a problem, with the tweet. We'd have just liked that he put a little bit more context behind it. I think that the punishment far, far, far exceeded the crime. All the things that Kyrie had to go through the past couple of weeks just in order to get back into the league, and then dealing with certain sponsors. Kyrie's made a lot of money for Nike over the years, so that's going to be their loss. But I love the fact that Kyrie said, "You know what? F that. I don't care. I'm Kyrie Irving. I'm Uncle Drew still. I'm still one of the 25 best basketball players in the world right now." Um, 1 second, guys. We're having a little technical difficulties on the live. Hold on 1 second.
I told you the feds be tapping in.
Yeah, you was right, Eric. I knew you mentioned that, and I didn't believe it at first, but now I see what's going on out here in these streets. But yeah, Kyrie Irving took the power back, man. Um, and I love it. I love what he did. I love him taping up and putting I'm free over his sneakers. I'm sure he'll figure out something else, and he's gonna have another sneaker deal with some company in the near future, or he'll go and do his own thing because the Kyrie brand is so big at this point. He doesn't necessarily need a Nike to sell sneakers. So I love it though. Shout out to Kyrie Irving for that one.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said as well. I thought it was really corny of Nike to release the statement the way they did, because it gives off a false impression of what happened. He was in the last year of his contract. His contract was going to be up, I believe, in the middle of this NBA season anyway. So it was something that they were trying to renegotiate long term. So to say we're dropping him and no longer working with Kyrie insinuates that they're releasing him from a long term contract, which wasn't in place. They probably weren't going to renegotiate a new deal anyway. But I like that he then flipped it on them and had the message on the sneaker. And I think he's going to still do some great things no matter what moving forward. He's still got a fan base. He's still well loved within the NBA community. So he'll be fine. And it'll be a matter of now just partnering up with the right brand.
Exactly. And again, let me say this. Kyrie is one of those players who is about his community. We showed a couple of weeks ago, several things that Kyrie has been involved in outside of his NBA play, where he's constantly giving back to the youth, to the community. Kyrie does so much stuff, and I don't want that to get lost amongst all of the nonsense that's been going on, because of that tweet. Like, let's not forget that this is one of the most active NBA players as far as just giving back. So let's not let that get lost because he posted a tweet without enough context behind it, and there was an uproar. this brother has been putting on for his community for a very, very long time. So keep that in mind when when you try to kind of, I guess, just throw the hate at Kyrie because he posted a tweet. Brother's
Right,
active. Now he's
right,
out. He's outside for real. So just keep
right.
just keep
And
in mind.
like you said, we've mentioned it before too. We think the work that he's done deserves more recognition. We talked about it when the time happened that it wasn't really about the tweet; it was more about the context. It was an opportunity to kind of clarify some things, and because he took a defiant stance and didn't, it trickled down and led to what it did. But in no way, shape, or form, I don't think anybody could question what Kyrie's done in the community and what his intentions have been because he's done a lot of things behind the scenes as well. No matter how you feel about him as a player and some of the things that have taken place with the Nets, he's definitely held it down for the community.
Exactly. So again, shout out to Kyrie Irving. Shout out to the Brooklyn Nets as a whole. I think, Eric, we might have to start at this point now bringing the Bing Bong parlay over to the NBA as well. Because both the New York Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets are on an uptick, moving up in the standings, and I'm loving it for the city of New York. Talk to me about both the Knicks and the Nets and what they've been doing the past couple of weeks that has them climbing the standings.
Well, I'll start with the Nets because I think it's been as simple as the change in head coach. Jock Vaughn has brought a level of stability there, a level of respect, a level of accountability with this team. And now we're seeing the best version of the Nets. We criticized Steve Nash and said he wasn't ready for the position. Jock Vaughn was more than ready for the position, and he's done well. And they've done this in spite of, remember, Kyrie missed some time, obviously, with the suspension. Ben Simmons has been in and out the lineup being hurt, but he's gotten a way to win games. Even last night, they were missing pretty much all their starters, and they get Cam Thomas to give him 33 points off the bench yesterday. Jock Vaughn has done an amazing job with the Nets so far. So kudos to him. Well deserved praise to him because he waited. He waited his time to become a head coach for the Nets, and now he's got an opportunity. He's showing everybody why he's such a good head coach. For the Knicks, I think it hasn't been coaching. It's more been about the youth movement. Tibbs has finally stopped being so stubborn, and it's unfortunate because Derrick Rose isn't playing right now. Cam Reddish, who I really like, is looks like he's probably going to be traded. Hasn't been playing, but when the young guys have come in, sometimes it's just a matter of that hunger. Quentin Grimes, Deuce McBride, those guys have come in and given a different energy to the Knicks right now. And I think RJ is kind of hitting a stride too. I was critical of RJ the first month of the season, but the last few weeks, him and Randall have really been holding it down, and that's why you see both New York teams playing really well.
Yeah, I agree. Um, there has been a kind of a changing of the guards. I know Tibbs was not with that playing the young cats. I still like to see Obi get a little bit more minutes. Just because I feel like in big minute games he puts up some really good numbers. I understand you're paying Julius Randle. He is the best player on your roster, so he's gonna get a lot of those minutes at the four. Um, but I would like to see Obi get a little bit more time.
Well, he's a
But
little hurt right now, so
yeah, but even before he got hurt, I mean, he's been getting like 10 minutes here, 8 minutes here. I don't think he's getting enough. And again, the Knicks have had this kind of problem for the past couple of years where they have a log jam of guys that play the same position, so it's a little bit harder to get everybody minutes. But I've seen in spots I've seen Randall has been playing pretty well. Like you said, the past couple of weeks, RJ's improving. Grimes, the times when he's in the starting lineup, he's played some really good basketball for them. Um, I definitely see some trades coming within in the near future. Couple of maybe within the next couple of weeks. I think some moves are going to be made. Again, you mentioned one of the names, Cam Reddish, who's possibly going to be on the move. I know a lot of teams have been contacting the Knicks in regards to Cam Reddish and his availability. So I think there will be some type of trades going on. But again, the Knicks are very good. They're a very young team. They got a lot of young talent. It's going to take them a while to really become legit playoff contenders. But I will say this: Jalen Brunson has been amazing this season for the Knicks. He kind of just came in and filled that void that they've been missing at the point guard spot. And I think he's playing really well. I think he's going to be a big part of their future and how well they can be. Because he's so good, he doesn't turn over the ball a lot. He's a really great facilitator. You know, comparing him to his dad when his dad played for the Knicks, it's two different. It's
Oh yeah,
levels between the two of them. Because I don't even think Rick Brunson might have only been getting like 6-7 minutes a game, if
yeah.
that. But I mean, shout out to him. But I'm sure he's proud of his son and what he's been able to do just this early um, in his Knicks career. And then as far as the Nets go, I mean, you mentioned that game last night against the Pacers, and 8 players, five of them, being starters. Damn, there you had, Ben, Kyrie, Durant, Joe Harris, all of these guys out, and they were able to put up the numbers that they were able to. Now, obviously, defense, because I mean they gave up a lot of points too. But when you don't have, damn near your top 7 players on the roster on the court, I'll take what I can get as long as you're gonna get me a W at the end of the night. Shout out to Cam Jordan. That brother went off last night. 33. He hit 5 3-pointers. He had an amazing game, and I agree with you 1,000%, Eric. The coaching change in Brooklyn has made these guys a completely different team because we were looking at them as far as barely being in the playing tournament.
Hmm.
Now they're the legitimate 4th seed. They the last, I want to say, 15 games, they've looked like the team that a lot of us said could be in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yep.
And I think they're going to continue to get better. They may make a move or two, just a few small tweaks, but barring any major injuries to one of their big three, and really, I would say just Kyrie or Kevin Durant, not even so much Ben Simmons, just because he's been in and out of the lineup so much. They've won without him, a significant amount. But so just really to just Kyrie or Kevin Durant, I think these guys continue to climb the ladder. You know, and I think that I think the sky's the limit right now for the team. They can continue playing the way they've been playing over the past couple of weeks under Jacques Vaughn. I'm liking what I'm seeing from the Brooklyn Nets right now.
Yeah, I love what I'm seeing from them. I hate to admit it, but I do. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Jock Vaughn has kind of stabilized everything, and I think this is when they're their most dangerous because they're not really in the headlines for anything. We don't hear KD complain about anything. Kyrie's just going about his business. Nobody can criticize the coaching because the coaching has been good. And like you said, quietly, they're the 4th seed in the East. They're only a game and a half behind Cleveland, who everyone has been raving about how great Cleveland has been. But Brooklyn is right there with them. Defensively, it didn't show yesterday, but defensively, they're better than Boston, who's the number 1 seed in the East. So I like what Brooklyn has been doing. They're getting themselves in perfect shape at the perfect time. I think they're prime right now. I think they're going to really start to take off as we go into the new year. And I wouldn't be surprised if we talked about it Friday, where maybe Boston and Milwaukee, the best 2 teams in the East. We're going to include Brooklyn in there by the start of the new year.
I agree. I believe so as well. And now you brought up Boston. I want to ask you a question in regards to Boston. Shout out to Will. We spoke about this on Friday. Um, what's going on with the Celtics and the Warriors? As great as the Celtics have been playing, they still cannot get over the Warriors. They still have not been able to, and this is with the Warriors. We're not talking about the Warriors they played in the finals last season. Even we're talking about a Warriors team that has struggled, that is at the bottom of the Western Conference right now. And not only it's not like they went in and they stole a win. No, they dominated the Boston Celtics last night. Both Klay Thompson and Steph Curry had the 30-piece plus McNuggets with the fries on the side out there. What is it about the Golden State Warriors that just gives the Boston Celtics fits?
Um, I think right now Golden State has their heart. That's first. I think secondly, the athleticism that Golden State has on the perimeter gives them a lot of trouble. Boston, we praised them for that duo that they have, which is very good, very talented, Tatum and Brown. But against Golden State, you look yesterday specifically, Golden State has bodies that they can throw at those guys, and they don't need those bodies to score a lot of points. They don't need Kuminga to score a lot of points, but Kuminga's athletic enough to give Tatum some fits. And you can't just switch them on a pick and roll the way you could do other teams, because Golden State can expose you in certain ways that other teams can't. And I think that's really their struggle. To me, granted, Golden State is a team you only play twice a year, and you would only see them if you get to the finals. But to me, the most concerning things about yesterday was how much Tatum struggled to score and how easily Golden State got their shots up. Boston was a team that we touted as a really good defensive team, and then they really struggled to stop anything yesterday, as you
Eric,
mentioned, both guys.
I can't hear your audio.
I went out there for a second.
Nope. Well, now you muted. Hold on, I'm muted.
Can you hear me now? Trip, can you hear me now? Let me see something.
It's just saying your mic isn't connected.
Can you hear me now?
Sorry about that, guys. Having a little bit of technical difficulties. We'll get right back with you in a minute. Eric is just trying to fix his mic over there. He'll be back in 1 second. But yeah, we're talking Celtics Warriors. The Warriors completely dominated the Boston Celtics last night again. It didn't seem like things changed much from the finals, and the team that we'd been talking about as and trying to figure out if they were the best team in the NBA, they look bad against the Golden State Warriors. So I don't get it. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. They have Boston Celtics numbers. Hold on, guys. We're gonna pause off the live really quick, and we're gonna come right back.